Hi everyone, Fiona the Clean Kitchen Coach here, and today I am going to teach you how to make homemade hummus. And you can find the recipe and the method in my book, The Busy Mom's Guide to a Clean Kitchen. This is a recipe that I used when I was selling items at my booth at the Thunder Bay Farmers Market, and it was very popular. So the first thing that we want to do, we're making sweet potato hummus, so we need some sweet potatoes. We're going to roast them first. So we need to set the temperature to 425 degrees Fahrenheit? Yes, Fahrenheit. Okay, so if you watched my last video, I said Celsius. Somebody caught me. So this time I'll give you the correct temperature. So why do we want it so hot? Because a medium temperature is 350. So if you go to 425, that's hot. And the reason why we want it hot is we want the sugars to caramelize. And if it was a lower temperature, we'd be more steaming or baking than roasting. So let's get started by washing our sweet potato. So my pro tip for you is don't peel it. We're going to roast it whole and the skin will just fall right off. Which means that we do have to wash it really well. If you add a little bit of baking soda to your water, that's actually more effective than any other vegetable cleaner that you can buy on the market. Now that it's nice and clean, we want to poke some holes in it. If we don't, all that heat will be trapped in there, and then when we poke it to see if it's done, then it could explode. And yes, I have done that before. It's not fun. I'm going to take a knife right off my knife rack, poke a couple holes in it, and then watch this kitchen hack. You're going to wash your knife right away. You're going to hang it up. And that's how you keep a clean kitchen. So I've got the oven heating up, and I have my stone in there heating up with it. So when the sweet potato hits the stone, it instantly starts to cook. I don't know if the mic picked it up, but it instantly started to sizzle. Now, how long does it stay in there? Until it's done. How do we know when it's done? We put a fork in it, and if it's tender, then it's ready. So probably like an hour and a half it's going to take, somewhere in between there. So I'll just check every once in a while, but not too often, because if you're looking, it isn't cooking. Every time you open the oven door, you're going to decrease the temperature of the oven by about 100 degrees. So we want to minimize how often we're doing that. So if you are checking on your food every, say, 5 minutes, and you're like, why isn't it cooking? Because you let all the heat out. So the next thing that we need to do is make like a salad dressing type of thing that we mix in with the roasted sweet potato to make the hummus. So whether you're using sweet potato or the traditional for hummus is chickpeas or black beans or beets, whatever you're using, you want to first start with a dressing. So dressing is always going to have, I call it an oil and a vinegar, but it's not. An oil just means a fat, and the fat is used to make it thick or to make it sticky, or sometimes both. So we use, for fat, we could use nuts, seeds, avocado, olives, or we could use oils. The vinegar, we just mean an acid. So good acids to use in hummus is lemon or lime, apple cider vinegar, wine. And then you need salt, pepper, garlic. So for your salt, you can use dulse flakes or sea salt or tamari. And for your pepper, you could use a white pepper or black pepper, cayenne pepper. And for your garlic, you can use fresh garlic. You could use the garlic that's already pureed in a jar. You could use garlic powder. If you're using garlic salt, don't add the salt, just add the garlic salt or less of the salt. And then the last thing that we need when we're making a salad dressing is your sweet and spicy. So sweet could be some dates or some raisins, carrots, and spinach are also really sweet. And then for your spicy, again, if you want to put your cayenne in there or your chili flakes. So come on over here with me, and I want to show you this next kitchen hack. It's to keep all of the parts for your appliances together in one bin. So all of my processor attachments and blades, they all get kept in this bin so that they're easy to find. I've got that S-blade attachment on there. And another tip that I have for you is to always cover your food processor with a tea towel when you're using it, for two reasons. One, no matter what, I always end up spraying ingredients all over my kitchen if I don't have that towel there. And the second reason is it dampens the sound. You could also use some ear protection, but the towel is a simple way to go. My daughter got me some special olive oils for Christmas. This one has a bit of lime juice in it. We're gonna add the tahini, and tahini has a bitter flavor, and you're gonna wanna add this to any dressing. And actually, I use it as a secret ingredient in my black bean brownies as well. How much tahini am I putting in there? I don't know. I don't follow recipes. I'm gonna put some in there, probably just a tablespoon to start, and see if that gives me that nice luxurious texture and taste that I'm hoping for. If you wanted, you could coat your spoon with some oil before you put on something sticky like the tahini, and it'll help it glide off, or you could use some water as well. So we took care of the oil and vinegar. Now we need our salt, pepper, garlic. I have this fabulous organic pepper. I'm gonna use black pepper. If you don't like seeing the pepper in there, you can go with a white pepper. And I'm gonna use some pink Himalayan sea salt in there as well. When you're making a dressing, you want to make it taste a little bit too acidic and a little bit too salty, because when the sweet potatoes go in there, they will dilute those flavors. I'm not going to put the ingredients back where they belong right away because I need to taste it to make sure that it's right, and then I'll put the ingredients away. So I have my salt, pepper, garlic, oil and vinegar in there, so now I need something sweet. And I'm actually not going to do anything sweet in this one because I'm using sweet potatoes. I'm using Japanese sweet potatoes, and they are very sweet on their own. And then for a spice, I'm going to give it a little bit of kick with a little pinch of cayenne pepper. When we're using the food processor, we're actually listening for it to sound like it's homogenized. Okay, that looks perfect. I do have fresh cilantro, and you don't want to use the stems. The texture of them is a little woody. So you break off the leaves, and we're not going to put them in there now because these leaves are really delicate, and if we pulverize them, it's going to destroy the taste of them. So if we put them in at the very end, then it will keep most of the leaves intact and add a nice flavor. How you can tell if a potato is done is if the skin is wrinkly. So you can see with this one, the skin is super wrinkly. And now it's time to take the skin off. How much easier is this than peeling a potato? You can turn your knife upside down and use it to push the vegetable into the dressing. Okay, so that looks like it's not creamy enough, so I'm just going to blend for another minute. Keep it a little too thick. I'm just scraping down the sides of the bowl with a spatula. It looks good, but does it taste good? Oh, it's so good. You guys have to try this. It's definitely too much garlic though. So that means that I have to eat this all right away, because if I let it sit in the fridge, the garlic flavor will intensify. Cut that out. So I'm going to transfer this to a bowl. So here's why I keep it a little too thick. This is my trick. Because I'm super cheap. We're frugal. I'm frugal. So I'm going to take the little bit of water and I'm going to put it into the food processor now that it's mostly scraped clean. And see? It got it all off the blade. So I'm just going to stir to incorporate that little bit of water. So we're going to finish this sweet potato hummus off with some fresh cilantro. And I'm just going to rough chop it. Make sure that you're using a sharp blade because you don't want to be bruising this as you're doing it. So the sharper the blade, the easier the cut. I already cut up some vegetables and I garnished it with fresh cilantro, and then I took a pepper and I cut it in half. And how I did that was I laid it on the counter and I waited till it stopped rolling, and that meant that it was on its flattest surface. And then once it was in its resting place, then I sliced it horizontally. And that gave me a nice little cup for the dough. So you get to see the end result, which means that you made it to the end of the video. So thank you for staying with me. And I'd love to know what hummus you're gonna make. And if there was any tips that you learned in today's videos, let me know in the comments below.